Good morning. It's a beautiful day out there. It's a heady 15 degrees. The wind is light. The chance of rain very slim. And all in all, one would think that all was right with the world. In fact, it would be, except for mankind, who managed to screw it up so badly you'd never believe. Keith Hayes with Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel, right in the center of Lewis, and indeed the seat of democracy, the seat of American democracy. And Lewis is the seat of democracy. The Battle of Lewis in 1264 between Henry III and Simon de Montfort, representing the barons, created the first parliament. Tom Paine wrote The Rights of Man and went off to the United States, which he coined, according to historian Bill Bryson. He called it the United States, the first man to do so, and fomented, if you like, the American Revolution. It all happened in Lewis, and that's where we are, in this old coaching inn, 300, 400 years old, with a history that you could make the mouth water. And indeed it does with those people who find it here because of Tom Paine and because of the Rights of Man and because of the start, if you like, of America breaking away from the United Kingdom, or from England and Britain as it was then. It's a historic place, and you get that prickling feeling up and down your spine when you're walking through the doors, knowing that they're the same doors and the same beams and the same roofs, and you can see them behind us, has covered the heads of famous people, including the Russian foreign minister who came here to help settle a long-standing dispute between ourselves and Russia way back in the 1930s. So history continues. History indeed does continue. So that's where we're broadcasting from this morning. And I had hoped to show you a few clips, but we are finding our way with this program. It's a new concept, it's a new idea, and I'm very proud that we managed to hammer it through. It's far from perfect. We had people yesterday who, in the very, very nicest way, because they are constructively critical, and that's what we want. We don't want people just to say blah, blah. It may be blah, blah. We don't want to know. We're doing our thing, and some people like it. But thanks to Kevin Kramer, particularly, who is something of a giant of a broadcaster in this part of the world. And Kevin can be a bit curmudgeonly. And I know that because I can, and we get together and we become curmudgeonly together. And we have a little natter and a nibble at everything. But Kevin said, Keith, you cut everybody's head in half yesterday. And of course, I did because it was our first day out. But I suppose what I've got in mind is that there are more heads have rolled in this part of the world in history than anywhere else in the country. And in fact, we have a documentary which you can still find on YouTube and on the web. And I think it's still in the annals of Together channel that is called The Bloody Past of a Tiny Town. And in 8 episodes, it'll give you some of the blood that's flowed down the high street, which I'm looking at the moment. Okay, we are pretty raw and we are pretty basic at the moment. But now that we are settled into this wonderful old room, which is the bar, actually, at the White Hart, from which we will broadcast, courtesy of Chris, sorry, the Airy family, and the who own the hotel, and who graciously said, yes, Keith, we understand your idea. It looks like a good community wheeze. Let's have a go. And so having a go, we are. So Sally and Cliff have said, yes, get on with it. Don't bother us. Sit in the back corner there. Don't disturb the customers who want to belly up to the bar. And indeed we don't. We had yesterday, we had some good fun. We had people drop by and so on. But that is all starts at 9:30 with Affairs from the Heart. And what we are here at the moment is Break an Egg. A look at what's bringing the day on. And that's why we started with the weather, because it's going to be a half decent day, a lovely day. So get out there. If you're in this facility, get out into this lovely, lovely town of ours, Lewis. There's much wrong with it. There's much that needs fixing. We need leadership. We need innovation. We need inventiveness. But above all, we need to enjoy the architecture that we've got, the history that we've got, the wonderful atmosphere that this town generates. And it does. It generates rebels. That's why you're watching this. This sort of television does not occur anywhere else in the world. It's unique. He said anybody can drop in. Anybody can walk through. And indeed they did yesterday. And we had some great guests. But anyway, I get ahead of myself because that doesn't start until 9:30, when we'll have some people here to join us, not least of which is Stuart Dolby, who will bring us up to date with energy matters, but also is fascinated by Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel, and we have a little Josh about it. Let's get on with the serious stuff. This is the time of day for serious stuff, right? First of all, the newspaper headlines: the Prime Minister without shame, and Tory MPs told to block inquiry. You know, while Rome burns, the UK fiddles. And to be quite honest with you, the one question that nobody will answer is, if you get rid of Boris, and perhaps he deserves to be hoofed out, who knows? You get rid of Boris, who are you going to put in his place? Right in the middle of a war, right in the middle of a pandemic. Although today the figures show that COVID is retreating a little. Who are you going to replace while we're facing with all these crises? Inflation heading towards 7.5%, and perhaps even more. An economy that's stopped growing. Who are you going to replace him with? You know, nobody will answer that question. Oh, get rid of him. The principle. I remember working for a radio station in Vancouver with a very hard-nosed businessman in charge. And one day I stormed into his office and I said, "Don, I don't think we should do this on principle." And he looked at me and said, "Stuff your principles up your ass." Those are his exact words. What he was telling me is, get on with the job. Stop strutting around saying what's right and what's wrong. Of course, law and order. In fact, the rule of law is vitally important to our civilization. Of course it is. But sometimes you need to be able to oh, right. Okay. Well, we're no longer a member of Google One because we changed our credit card. Never mind. We'll fix that later. It's one of the things that one has to do is to be very practical. If the hordes are at the gates, you don't actually suddenly decide that you don't like tanks. There are necessities in life to get on with, and that is whether you're actually facing problems on the high street, problems in your home, or whether you're facing problems on the Ukrainian-Russian border. There is a certain practicality, and it seems that most of our MPs have forgotten that. I don't have much time for them anyway, to be quite honest with you. There we go. That's me. As you can tell, I'm no string chicken. I'm a curmudgeon, and I get on with it. And that's the way that I see it. And if you don't like the way I see it, here I am daily now from doing Break an Egg and looking at the news, and then from 9:30, it's free flow, free eggs, free whatever. It's all sorts of people join me, some to call me names, people come in off the street to call me names. Yesterday we had a lovely group of chaps here having a drink, and when I said, "Where are you from?" He said, well, We only just got out. They'd been in the courts over the road, and they were a lovely bunch of blokes. One couldn't imagine why they'd been banged up. So you never know who you're going to get in here. We had Councillor Janet Barr. I digress. First of all, I am truly sorry. It did not occur to me that I broke my own COVID laws at Downing Street Bash, says the Metro's headline. And what they're basically saying is, come on, Boris, stop telling porkies. And in fact, I have to say that Boris has been a very naughty boy, a very naughty boy. And he does need to be brought to book. But the way politicians do it is they are personally offended. Pot, black, I wouldn't trust one of them, not one of them. I wouldn't trust them to tie my bloody shoelaces. But the system is such that most people will not get a chance to go into politics. They will be barred. In a democracy, they will be barred. Now you start to examine what all these yattering classes are trying to pretend to protect. And you'll see what they're doing is they are self-serving and looking after a system that looks after their pockets. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So please, can we get on with looking after the war? Can we get on with looking after COVID? Can we get on with looking after the economy and stop your yattering and your stupidity and do what we vote you in to do? Although personally, I prefer to be able to vote for somebody else, but still, there we are. Stop the stupidity and get on with governing the country and governing it properly. Yes, debate. Debate is very important, but debate sensible things in a sensible way. Not the way that you do at the moment, because you make yourselves look like idiots. And believe me, not just to us, but to those people who would be our enemies. And yesterday, it appears that 007, the 007s of other countries have been at work. And number 10 is riddled with spy phones. Ha! Ha ha ha! Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, I'm having a wonderful morning this morning. It's being in the White Hart. It's just, if this is a town of rebellion, this is a place of rebellion. This is just lovely. Let's have a look. No, I thought we might have somebody there. We haven't. Never mind. It is The Guardian. A man without shame. The PM savaged over parties. God, what happened was there were a number of parties when the rest of us shouldn't have been having parties. Put your hands up. If we've got 64 million people in this country, how many people partied? The moment that you could go to the beach, how many flocked onto the beach and infected people, right? Where are they? Oh, well, the police couldn't handle them all, could they? No, they couldn't. It was totally impractical. It's absolute rubbish, absolute nonsense. So what are we talking about here? What we're talking about is a good many things that are going to affect our way of life. And they already have. Foodstuffs already rising rapidly in the supermarkets. Soon, even those with a bulging pocket are going to feel the pinch. Energy costs going through the roof. Travel costs. Wow. Out of sight. We are pricing ourselves out of our way of life. And who is going to be the first to yell and scream? Those people who did nothing. Those people who worried about whether Boris ate some icing cake in Westminster. Now, I know because I had a lovely Easter Monday afternoon with a couple of friends whom I always enjoy. I won't name them, but I always enjoy chatting to them. And they are absolutely mortified at Boris's behaviour, and quite rightly so. But the fact of the matter is, even in our discussion there, is they admitted is who's going to take over, because our confidence in other people to do that is very, very limited, very limited. Jeff Dodo, who is I've never met him, but hi there, Jeff. I'm glad that you're looking in, because he's looking in from Ghana, would you believe? And we do have a following in Ghana. We have some nice people. And in fact, I was with some of them in Cambridge a couple of weeks ago. So, Jeff, delighted that you're with us. And I hope that you'll continue to pop in. Right, okay, let's go back to the newspapers. The Times. Tory MPs told to block inquiry into Johnson. Well, there you see, what have the MPs now forced? They forced everybody to start ducking and diving and doing all sorts of things within the House of Commons, which they are permitted to do and which the rest of us aren't prepared to do or are not permitted to do and get our fingers slapped for, but they can get on with it. And what it is a bunch of rubbish, a bunch of nonsense. The enemy is at the gates. And if you don't believe that, you have to understand the psyche of President Putin. And you'll say, how do you know anything about it? Well, I actually spent many, many months over a period of years in the early part of this century in Moscow. I got to know a little about this man. I talked to his citizens. I talked to the people who were living under his regime. So I do know a little bit about this man. And he is to be feared. And if you don't think that, then by all means, go about your knitting, go and have your coffee, rock your pram, read the back pages of the newspaper, and say, it doesn't really matter, does it? Well, it does all matter. And that's what we're really about, is trying to stir your conscience. This is a little town, but its voice has been heard around the world many, many times, and there's no reason why it can't be again. Yeah, people march on behalf of Ukraine and so on and so forth, without understanding the issues. Well, I've been to Ukraine, and actually I've worked in Lugansk. I've worked in the area that is now under threat from the Russian forces. And here we are. Good morning. How are you? There's a gentleman here fixing the bar. When I first got in this morning, Shannon, who's quite delightful, I said, would you mind opening the bar so I can set up the broadcasting equipment? And she said, well, I can do that, but I can't give you a drink from the bar. God bless her. We're not allowed to have a drink at this hour of the morning. So there we are. It's the staff here are lovely, helpful, terrific. If you come into the White Hart, you will meet nothing but courtesy and friendliness and helpfulness. So it's important that you understand that as the hotel right in the center, and an ancient hotel right in the center. Anyway, I'm having a good time digressing this morning. It is the Mirror. You choose. Tomorrow you vote on whether they're talking about to MPs, a message to Tory MPs. Tomorrow you vote on whether to investigate our Prime Minister and whether he misled Parliament. Well, yeah, but do it. But don't make it headline stuff. Get on with it. And then get telling us what you're going to do about the economy. What are you going to do about rising prices? What are you going to do about energy prices? Because actually, it is you that screwed it up. And if you want to listen to how and why, listen to our energy expert, Stuart Dolby, because he will tell you chapter and verse, where it goes back to 2015, 2016, when our MPs got it all wrong. All wrong. And we're suffering now. That's where the blame often lies. And it's about time that we all started to stop worrying about a bloody ice cake Christmas and got on with trying to redress some of the problems that we've got. Some of the problems we've got. Right. So the Mirror is saying, tomorrow you choose. I mean, some of the actual national press do get on their high horse. They get very pompous. Now, don't misunderstand. I am the biggest fighter and champion of a free media. And why shouldn't I be? I've worked in about 15 to 20 countries where the media wasn't free, and where I've helped fight to try and get some semblance of a free and independent media. So once again, don't tell me what we're talking about. Not from your fat, bottomless chair. Bottomless chair. I meant fat bottoms on a chair. Outside a coffee shop. Going, oh yes. Without any experience whatsoever to back up your viewpoint. Find out before you start to yell. Yeah. Right, okay. The I. Johnson not worthy of great F office. Well, you would expect me. I should have said that, wouldn't you? They're as hot air as anybody else. There is a movie called Brewster's Millions, in which a chap is left something like $50 million, but he's got to spend it so that he can inherit $250 million. And so he decides to go into politics. And his slogan is none of the above. So he goes on the ticket of none of the people that are standing who are above him on the ticket are worthy. Well, that's my view. It's none of the above. We need somebody to refresh a breath of fresh air that can say none of the above. And they would be damn right, believe me. But the trouble is, you see, what happens is that people will say, oh yes, okay, oh, you've got a point there, you've got a point there. Oh, but, the thing is that my MP, they're so nice, such a nice person. What's that got to do with anything? There are thousands of nice people in this world. I'm not one of them, but there are thousands of people, nice people. But if they can't fly an airplane, I don't want to get on board if they're sitting in the pilot's seat. And that's really what we're talking about here. Are these nice people? Are these people that you would love to spend an evening with and enjoy spending an evening with worthy and fit to run the country? Ask the question. The Daily Express, which tends to favor the government at the moment, is it actually, I suppose, reflects what I think, or partly what I think is, what a waste of time. So much more is at stake. And absolutely right. What they're doing is they're fiddling around, tinkering with the engine, when in fact we need the engine pointed at the real enemy. And I've just outlined at least 3 or 4 enemies. Disease, want, economy, pestilence, war, all at our gates. And remember what happened to the Egyptians when that all happened. Mind you, I don't know that anybody is trying to escape from the UK, but they will. The rats will leave the sinking ship. The moment we get into some sort of diffs, they'll leave for somewhere else where it's nice to live and so on and so forth, and they'll forget all about it. Just the way that, in many ways, people are marching with flowers, blue and yellow flowers, blue and yellow flags, blue and yellow this, that, and the other, and have really no idea the suffering and privations of war. I don't have any real appreciation of what it's like to be in the middle of the war. So I spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So I know what it's like to live in fear. I know what it's like to worry about whether you're going to walk into a bomb, or whether the place that you decide to go for breakfast has been blown up overnight. It's enough. And the Daily Star says, the Klingon PM, soz, not soz. Stay home and party, protect my sorry ass, save my skin. Oh, yes, okay. I love the Star because it always comes up with unique headlines. Not particularly this time. It's just gone along with everybody and tried to put a spin on it. What a pity. What a waste of their time overnight when they've got so many talented people there. And they have got talented people there, believe me. Financial Times. Now, Britain poised for the slowest growth among G7 nations, predicts the International Monetary Fund. Now, the IMF have got it wrong before. But nonetheless, with the combination of everything, Brexit, COVID, war, pestilence, economic deprivation, you name it, is our economy is slowing down, whereas it was amongst the fastest, and is likely to be the slowest amongst the G7 nations. Now, for those who don't know what the G7 nations are, that's the group of the most prosperous nations in the world, known as G7. and they regularly get together to discuss the world's economy. It did go to G8 at one time, and Russia was made a member, but they were soon hoofed out when they decided that they wouldn't toe the party line. Should they have been? Who knows? Far above my pay grade. But the fact is that it does seem as if we are going to be in for a torrid time. The things that you spend your money on and thought nothing about it is suddenly you're going to find that money is pretty precious. And of course, the first thing that's happened is my other favorite group, the bankers and the credit card people, the retail financiers, is they will get on their high horse. They'll do a lot of preaching, roll, and then they give everybody a bad time. And I hope that we actually rebel against them. They're about as useless as the politicians. In fact, you'd think I was a real revolutionary, wouldn't you? Che Guevara is resurrected. Oh dear. The Daily Mail, watch the TV in self-drive cars. Now, here is an interesting item. Here is an interesting item, to say the least. Now we can expect, and pretty soon, that is if anybody can afford them, self-drive cars. You get into the car and the car drives. You program it and away you go. Although I don't even trust computers, but let's say that everybody else does, and that they program a car. And what it means is you could actually get into your car and say, well, I want to go to Hastings, boom, boom, boom. And the car will drive itself safely. And what the highway code is going to be altered to is that you can read a newspaper or you can sit and chat as you go along. And you can do your email texts and that sort of thing while you're sitting in your car driving it. Can you imagine? I can't, but I suppose really it's the sort of thing that in a year's time we may well think, do you remember the days when we actually drove cars, where you actually watched the road? Of course, you'll always want somebody who wants to go 100 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone who will click it off and then continue to read. More people killed that way than you could shake a stick at. But anyway, the Daily Mail says, watch the TV in self-drive cars up to 37 miles an hour. Well, if you say, I'm going to go to Hastings, and if I drive fairly carefully and so on, but at a reasonable speed, I'll get there in, say, an hour and a half. This might take 2 hours. But if you can actually watch your favorite TV program, you won't want the journey to end, will you? It's like being on board the airline, where you wake up and you put on the TV and there's a really good movie, and then they switch the system off because it's 10 minutes to landing, and you never do to the end. It could be like that. The Daily Telegraph, BBC more critical of number 10 than Putin. The Prime Minister is having a go at the BBC, as indeed a lot of people are. And he's what he's saying is, they're treating President Putin reasonably gently while they're having a go at their own prime minister. Well, that's the way it is, isn't it? A prophet is without honor in his own country. We've got to go have a go at the prime minister, and why shouldn't we? But he is right to some extent, and that is that the BBC does tend to go a bit overboard. And while I watch some of it, a lot of it is really not up to snuff. The fact is that the standards have dropped enormously, and the more that they actually stuff children into positions of authority, the more the standard drops. So there you are. That's my view. Look at how old I am. Right? I'm bound to have a go at the young, aren't I? Fair dues. The young are always having a go at the old. They are not a bit interested in our experience. They're not interested in where we've been, what we've done, and that we can put things into context. They know how to do it. Okay, that's their stance. My stance is, no, you bloody don't. And what's more, you quite often parade in front of everybody your inability to actually grasp what it is that you're talking about. but yap, yap, yap. Beep. The Sun. The Sun has avoided being controversial. Why? Perhaps because the owners have vested interests. Liam, I need new hips is its headline, and it's talking about Liam Gallagher, who apparently the Oasis man, who needs some new hips. Oh, good for him. I think a lot of people need new hips. I sometimes think I might need some myself. Is it front page news? I don't know. What's front page news? It's a choice, isn't it? Some people would say, yes, it's very important that we know that. But yesterday it had a rock story. The day before it had a rock story. Makes you wonder who is at the controls. Are they really too worried about the things that are besetting the rest of us? Who knows? So Liam needs new hips. That's more or less the papers as they are represented on the front pages. There are a few things that have sort of tucked away, or not tucked away, but not quite as prominent. For instance, one of the things that legislation is being introduced to make it a very serious offence to write fake reviews. What happens at the moment, for instance, is, let's say that somebody who makes, what should we say, socks, will get somebody purporting to be an expert who writes a fake review, who says these socks are the best things since sliced bread. They don't get holes in them. They expand with the heat of the feet. They are pretty, and not only that, but the Duke of York wears them as well. And it's all fuddly-do. It's all riddly-raddle. Not a bit of it is anything other than the writer's imagination. But he's paid by the sock maker to tell us just how wonderful these socks are. And there is every evidence that we all fall for it. And because it appears, as indeed is the basis of PR, is that a third party is telling us that we should buy this stuff, that we can trust it, is the very reason that we shouldn't. Well, that's going to be outlawed. And very, very severe penalties, apparently, have been proposed to make sure that we aren't fooled by the publicity, the fake publicity put out by the manufacturer themselves. If a review is an independent review, it's got to be independent. I'll tell you, anything you hear on here, even if you do think it's rubbish, is quite independent. There's nobody paying us to do things. I haven't even got anybody paying for advertising at the moment. We've got to turn that around as well. So let's that's a step in the right direction. Fake reviews. Driverless cars, I've just mentioned. Right. Apparently, I reported yesterday that Queen now says, reportedly says, that she wants Harry and Meghan on the balcony when she appears for her Jubilee celebrations. And as a mother, that's right and proper that she should. Actually, as a monarch, it's probably right and proper that she should. But it now appears that, despite everything that's been reported and said, is secretly Harry and Meghan have been popping into the palace and having chats with Grandma. Harry should, with all the sadness that he's had in his life, be able to pop in and chat to Grandma. Nothing against that. But somehow they always seem to get to plotting. Why is it that they have to plot? It's a story of fairy tales, isn't it? Plotting. Harry and Meghan plotting. And they do plot. No question in my mind about that. COVID. The reports today are that for the first time we have seen a cessation in the rise of COVID cases. That doesn't mean to say that we're on top of it. Doesn't mean to say that it's going away. Doesn't mean to say that we don't really have to be very careful. But at least it does seem that there is some form of cap, if you like. Now, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. If you'd like your name on this, we'll be telling you next week how to contact us and get your name on it. I don't care whether you're an individual or whether you're a company. Just in these early days, it'll cost you no more than £5 for a day. Okay, so at the moment we're only getting to about 3,000 people. Actually, it's more than that. But they're spread around the world. They are dedicated viewers. I can't walk out of this building in the morning without getting an email from somebody saying, "You Pratt, you know what you did this morning?" Very good. It really is very good. And that's the sort of thing that we try to stir up. So if you want your name on this cup and watch us drinking it with it going in front of whether you're a business or whether you're an individual, next week, watch out for how you do it. And you can have it for £5 a day. £5 per cup per person. We're also, if you want, you could get a T-shirt to it so that your name can be seen as we broadcast. And if, in fact, you manufacture something and you want it on the desk in front of us, at the moment, you can't really see the desk terribly well, but you will be able to because we're improving our camera. We've got lovely chaps working on it. We've got a lovely student. We've got two students, two very nice students, who are very clever and who work very hard. And they come up with all sorts of things for us. And they are going to work on how to make sure, because it's beyond me as to how you add cameras into our system here, so that we can show you outside. We can show you what's happening on in the road, in the high street. We're going to show you the weather outside. We can say hello to people as they come into the hotel. We can do all sorts of things, and they are helping us put that together. So if you want us in a T-shirt that says, Bojo is the greatest, then you can have it, and all for just £5 to start off with. I say to start off with because eventually, of course, is more and more people will want it, and supply and demand. We'll have to nudge the price up just the same as everybody else. £5 isn't a bad price, is it, for a day? 25 quid for a week? Yeah, think about it. All right, where are we now? It's time to take a break, and my favourite, well, as far as I'm aware, let me see if I can find. There's well, let's look at Susan's show. This is not a new one, but she gets out of bed very early in the morning and goes and takes some lovely photographs of Lewis. There are a few images of Lewis as it is outside. Actually, it's a beautiful day outside. Just a beautiful, beautiful day. It's going to hit 15 degrees today. You don't sort of need these sort of togs, but nonetheless, it's always a wise when there's just a little bit of a breeze around to watch out. You can safely wear a hat like this. Not going to get blown off, I don't think. Actually, I'm amazed because sometimes I'm chasing my hat down the street, and there are people that pass me with a similar trilby firmly planted on their head, and the wind doesn't seem to move it. I just wondered sometimes whether, in fact, what they've done is that they've actually glued it to their heads. I don't think I could. Let's see. Would the glue stick? Who knows? It's look. The one thing I haven't said to you is at 9:30 we switch our program to the affairs from the Hart, and it's a different program. It's free flow. When people walk into this bar, they appear on telly. Some will say hello, some won't. We had a couple of wonderful chats to people who just appeared in the bar yesterday, and I hope that we'll have more chats today. We should have Stuart Dolby along in a minute. Stuart just suddenly appears, and I have to accommodate him. And then we should have Max, loyal student, along to give us a hand one way or the other. If you're here, Max, come and join us. Don't be shy. It's when you're a very small unit for operations such as that, we can't do everything, but we really would like to make sure that everybody who comes into the hotel knows that they can dive in and they can come and they can chat to us, as they did yesterday and as they can for weeks and months to come. It's a new idea. It's good fun. It gives you an opportunity to sound off if you want, or to tell us about an event that your organization is espousing. The interesting thing is that an awful lot of people moan about nobody gives them publicity and so on and so forth. But actually, is most people who would give you publicity in this town are small. They don't have a lot of people to come tearing around and talk to you about it. Particularly if you're on a day-to-day basis. But we're here for you. So if you want to come in and tell us, and you think that your cause is worthy and that it is worth the effort to either get out of bed or to walk down to the White Hart and pop in anytime between 10:30 and 11:30, 9:30 and 11:30, you are more than welcome. And it's interesting looking out of the window here, because you can see the activity of the courts. You can see the barristers going in and the solicitors going in. And then eventually you can see the coppers going in. And then you can see the naughty people going in or waiting to go in. It's sort of an interesting little spot to look out on. So life is beginning to murmur. It's beginning to bubble in Lewis. What's the time? Goodness gracious me! It's 9:14. We've been rabbiting on for 3/4 of an hour, and we've only got another 15 minutes left of this program before we settle back and welcome anybody who wishes to come in to the studio. Perhaps I can just tell you a little bit about affairs from the Hart. It's a program that comes from exactly where we are at the moment, the bar in the front of the hotel. The people who come into the bar for a drink can chat if they wish. If they don't want to be seen, they can scatter out into the farmer's bar, which is now the front lounge, and have their drink there. And generally speaking, those people who know that we're here and the word is beginning to spread a little bit, can pop in and can give us the benefit of their thoughts. And if, in fact, having listened to me, people want to come in and say you're full of rubbish, Keith, as long as you actually got a reasoned argument, do so. And believe me, I'm not a terribly good debater, so you're not in any fear of being made to look like an idiot. It's quite the contrary. I'm the one that's likely to be look like an idiot. That's what this program is all about, and it is here in the center of Lewis, and it's broadcasting to you on Mirador. This is on Facebook, Mirador Television, Mirador Television, Lewis. Lewis Television, Mirador. On YouTube, Mirador Television. On LinkedIn, Mirador Television. It does go out on Twitter and Instagram, but I am not at all sure how. So I can't tell you what it's on there. But if you look around for Mirador Television, you'll find us. So it's in all sorts of places. And we're going to increase that because every episode we've ever done is stored on something called Blogger, and it sits there. It's an archive of past things. And for that matter, that's true of YouTube as well. We've got an archive. We've got a big archive. We've got our own big archive. And we are going to trot out various programs. The trouble is that it's like everything is. We want to do 10,000 things, but we don't have 10,000 men. Actually, there was a lady on the bus yesterday when I was going home, and she was rocking her baby to sleep, and she was quietly whistling as the good old Duke of York. He had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And I started to sing to it, and she laughed. We didn't exactly have a sing song, but she did actually spur us into thinking in terms of is that monument in London with the good old Duke of York sitting at the top. And one of the worst military leaders in history. But as I said to her, what we do is we wait for people to be very poor soldiers and to incur military disasters, and then we put them on top of a column and we laud them, give them medals. She was kind. She smiled and laughed. But anyway, why did I start to tell you that? I have no idea, none whatsoever. So as we come to the end of our first hour, and we get ready to go into our next 2 hours, which is totally different and totally talking about all sorts of other things. And hopefully we will have people and some of our regular broadcasters have agreed to come on. We've deliberately not brought people on for the first couple of days so that we don't ask people to waste their time or give us their time and then find that the thing doesn't work. But things do seem to be working, and so we shall expand and we shall start to talk to people from not only here but from the United States, because we've got a number of people in the United States who are good supporters and have been broadcasting on Mirador for a number of years. Mirador was beginning to become quite a force when lockdown came. And lockdown was fierce. It damn near finished us. But we can proudly say that we're like the Windmill Theatre. We never closed. We gave a service from Mirador throughout lockdown. A great personal cost. When I say personal cost to a number of us. Because the only way to keep it going was to donate our time, donate some of our own money, and we are hurting as a result. But we are on the way back, and we ask you to give us your support. You may not like us. In fact, what we say about ourselves is Mirador is like Marmite. You hate us or you love us, but you never forget us. So do use us. You have to watch more than 5 minutes in the 2 hours that we're on. But you may find things that are intrigue. You may find things that are happening in our community that you didn't know about. You may even get a point of view that you never considered before. Who knows? But we would love to have you with us. And not only in spirit, but also if you're passing by. If you're passing by the White Hart, look in through the front window and you'll see us busy rabbiting away. And we're very happy to see you in here. Right, okay, well, we've been on the air for 50 minutes and 31 seconds. And it is now 9:21. So I'll recap. Let me recap what is in the headlines this morning. The main theme, of course, is Boris. Oh, don't worry. The Russians have invaded Ukraine in a real way. I mean, they've got a good foothold in Donbass, which is an area that I know, that I worked in. They've got a good foothold there. Well, never mind. That doesn't matter. Let's have a go at Boris's Christmas cake. Anybody would think I was an apologist for Boris. I'm not. Although I must say that I had lunch with his father here about 2 or 3 months ago. He's a kind of charming man, an articulate man, an interesting man. But nonetheless, Boris has been a naughty boy. But my question to those people who are busy stomping up and down and saying what an awful man he is, he should be brought to book, is yes, but decide at what level. Because when I ask the question, who would you put in charge instead, there is a little bit of a goldfish. Oh yeah, you'll get some people who are idiotic enough to do things on, party political lines. Oh, we'll put Keir Starmer in charge. Yeah. Yes, a man without any leadership experience. We'll put so-and-so. Yes. And actually, I wouldn't give you tuppence for the cabinet. So who are you going to put in charge instead, midstream? Surely it is wiser to wait until some of the crises that we're facing. We are facing a number of crises. And I don't think really the realization has permeated into some of the households, some even watching this, that life is going to change. Things are already costing a lot more. Whether you want to travel, whether you want to heat your home, whether you want to feed your family, whether you want to keep people healthy, all these are quite different to the way they were 2 years ago. And yet some people are behaving as if nothing has happened. Well, that's the way you see it. That's the way you see it. But don't start belly aching when you haven't prepared yourselves for the fact that life is going to change. Well, there is a few people apparently watching the thing this morning, and we're getting little clicks here and there. So I'm delighted about that. We actually, because we replay this throughout the day, and you could get it on various platforms, particularly Facebook and YouTube and others. We do actually accumulate quite a lot of people who are not necessarily watching right now, but do actually dip in, take a look to see what it is that we've been saying. So if you're one of them, welcome. If you're not, tell somebody and get going. But above all, if you live in Lewis or you're visiting Lewis or whatever, come and join us. Come and walk through the front doors of the White Hart. You'll be made very welcome by the lovely staff here. And if Cliff Aries and his wife Sally, his lovely wife Sally, and at the moment it's a beautiful young lady called Shannon who's on the front desk, is come and say hello, hello, and get a warm feeling, a good feeling. Because this is, because of its history and its background, violent though sometimes it's been, is a place of great civility, great calm. And somebody just peered in through the window, so they obviously know that we're doing things here. So come on in and join the fun. Anyway, I digress again. It's 9:25, and it's let's see. Yesterday was the 19th, so it's the 20th today. It's March the 20th, and April the 20th, and here are the newspaper front pages. The Metro. I'm truly sorry. The Prime Minister, it did not occur to me that I broke my own COVID laws at Downing Street. Yeah, maybe he's telling the porkies and maybe he's not. The Guardian, a man without shame. PM is savaged over the parties that he held. Oh dear, glass of champagne. The Times, Tory MPs told to block an inquiry into Johnson. I have some sympathy for that. Whoever is suggesting it is look, we've got enough on our plate without worrying about iced cakes and champagne, half-empty champagne bottles and crisp packets at Christmas. Yeah, get on with it. There are more inquiries running now than you can shake a stick at. It's not as if there's any precedent here, is that we're ignoring anything. He lied to the House of Commons. That's his biggest sin. And that's the one that really should be held to account. Lying to the House of Commons is not on. It breaks the rules. It breaks the spirit of the rules. If in fact it turns out that that's what he did, smack him. But if you want to replace him, make sure you know who you want to replace with. It isn't always as easy as it appears. The Mirror, you choose. Well, they're saying to Tory MPs, you get a chance tomorrow to censure him or block an inquiry or whatever. The choice is up to you. And the Eye, Johnson not worthy of great office. Well, there's meant to be somebody who says that. The Tory chief whip, Mark Harper, whoever he is you're not worthy of great office. The thing is, what I would like to know is, I know very little about Mark Harper, what his qualifications to make a judgment. They never bother to tell you that. I am making this judgment because those of you who are very critical of me, at least you know that if I say something, it's normally based on experience. If I talk about Northern Ireland, it's about living there. If I talk about the area of Ukraine, it's about living there, working there. The Balkans, the same. Out of the Baltics, the South Caucasus, and, believe it or not, Russia. So I'm not entirely without some sort of background when I make some of these protestations, which sound so outrageous. But being outrageous is my business. The Daily Express, the supporter of the government, and has been throughout the last 24 months, I suppose. It says, what a waste of time. So much more is at stake. And it says is that there is so much on for the country at the moment. Let's just accept he's been a naughty boy. And then let's get on with sorting out some of the problems that the world is presenting us with. And the world is presenting us particularly. That's the trouble with being a leading nation. We are a leading nation. We may be small, as Hugh Grant says as Prime Minister in Love Actually. We may be small, but we're a great country. Country of Shakespeare. David Beckham's right foot. David Beckham's left foot, for that matter. Lovely lines. But we are a leading country. Doesn't matter whether we're small or large. We are a leading country, and our voice needs to be heard. And we want to make sure that when we actually sit in the councils of global leaders, is that we're not talking about an ice cake at Christmas or a half-empty packet of crisps. Oh, the beautiful, beautiful star. It says the Klingon PM, but yesterday it reported that some scientists have said, please don't stop trying to contact people in outer space, because they may be there lurking. And if they find out that we're here, they'll come and zap us. So it's stop shouting to the heavens. Oh dear. The Financial Times. Britain is poised for the slowest growth among G7 nations, predicts the International Monetary Fund. Now, the IMF has got it wrong before, and let's hope they have. If they haven't, we're in for a torrid time, because what we see now is, without having felt the real effects of increased food prices and increased energy prices and a total increase of the cost of living with stagflation, which is a lack of growth a lack of economic growth, is there are tough times ahead. And if the IMF says that we're going to be the worst in Europe, then we better be prepared for it. And it's not a question of where we sit on a rating scale. It's how it will affect us on a day-to-day basis, and it will. It'll affect our lives. We better be prepared for it. The Daily Mail: watch the TV in self-drive cars. Legislation or changes to the highway code is going to make it possible for you to watch TV as long as you've got a self-drive car. Don't know much about these self-drive cars. I think what we'll do is we'll try and find an expert and see if they know anything about self-drive cars and tell us what's on the cards. The Daily Telegraph: the BBC is more critical of Number 10 than they are of President Putin, says the Prime Minister. Probably a large element of truth in that. The Sun are staying away from it all. Leo Gallagher, Oasis: I need new hips. I need new hips. Everybody should know that. Okay, that's us. Oh, it's 9:32. We actually have rabbited past our witching hour. Okay, we're going to go now, and we will be back within 5 minutes to start affairs from the heart. So thank you for being with me for this first hour. I hope that I haven't upset you too much with the comments that I made. But if I have, I'm glad. Because if we don't talk things through, if we don't start to fiercely debate with each other, we will not come up with decent solutions. When we're not coming up with decent solutions or demanding decent solutions, then I'm afraid there are a few people who love to control us, who will keep on making sure that we need to pay. And we need to pay at our cost, not theirs. So get your mouth going. Get your roar going. Let's absolutely make sure, shall we, that we've got a voice. And I think, I don't know, one here that should suit us. No, it's not. So we'll just go out with the usual. Thank you for being with me. Good morning.